The Brave edition of Luna's Howl is one of the best guns Bungie has ever made, and I bet 75% of you watching this video right now aren't going to be using this thing long term. I have a lot of things to say about this weapon. Some things you might have heard from others that you almost certainly haven't. I'm going to break this review down into 8 simple questions that should tell you everything you need to know about this gun and whether or not it's for you. So let's start with the bold claim. Why isn't this weapon for everyone? After all, it looks the part, has the perks and the performance, and there's quite a lot of hype behind it, isn't there? No. Well, yes, but that's not the issue. The issue is the feel of the gun. When I was testing this live over on Twitch, the people who came into my chat saying they didn't like this weapon would often say that the recoil threw them off. Like there was something very weird about how the gun fires. And that's totally correct. This gun doesn't fire correctly. To understand why that is, you have to remember that the original version of which the Brave Luna is based on were originally 180 RPM hand cannons. Both Not Forgotten and the OG Luna's Howl had a very specific feel and cadence to them. The animation for the Brave Luna is based on the original versions of those weapons, so the duration of the recoil is tuned to be suited for a fire rate of 180 RPM. When you compare it side by side with an actual 180, you can see what I mean very clearly. Which is why when you go to fire the hand cannon, it can feel weird or off-putting, because this gun feels like it's meant to fire faster than it actually does. It's like a dog being held back on a leash, because that's exactly what it is. Bungie fundamentally changed the nature of the OGs when they forced them to be 150 RPM hand cannons initially, and then later 140 RPM once those two archetypes were consolidated. Simply put, the reason why you can't get used to the recoil is because it's a 180 RPM hand cannon in a 140's body. And that's just the start. For precision frame hand cannons, how good they feel depends a lot on your input method. On controller, precision frame hand cannons feel stickier than any hand cannon in the game and have ridiculous reticle friction to the point where sometimes it feels like legal aimbot. On mouse and keyboard, it feels the complete opposite. They feel like they have no aim assistance whatsoever. If you don't have pinpoint aim, you're going to have the devil of a time getting a shot to land. 180s have never been part of the wider PC meta, in large part because of the way they feel. I genuinely thought I was going insane when I was live on Twitch testing Lunas on MNK, but when I swapped over to Apocal Integration, a normal adaptive hand cannon, it felt so much better. Shots I missed with Luna suddenly landed with Apocal. It is also entirely possible that I may have an acute case of skill issue. I'm sure many of you using this weapon on MNK have no issues whatsoever. However, I'm reasonably confident that most players who can't get used to the feel of Lunas are most likely playing on MNK and are thrown off by the everything I've just said. Feel ultimately is subjective, and I've done my best to explain why it doesn't work for me and possibly why it doesn't work for you too. But what is far less subjective is that this gun is well worth the chase. Question 2. Is Luna's Howl actually any good? Yes. Yes it is. Leaving aside the feel of the gun, Luna's Howl delivers a package that is very compelling for both PvP and PvE. Like most of the Brave Arsenal weapons, the question isn't whether or not they're good. We know they're good. These are some of the best suite of weapons we've ever had in Destiny 2. It's what you want them to be and how you configure them that makes them more complicated. Let's look at PvE first before we move into PvP. Question 3. What makes Luna's Howl worth it in PvE? There's 2 roles to go for here. Extended Mag, Subsistence and Incandescent, or swap out Subsistence for Heal Clip. Now the first role here is a very specific case of never reload killing machine, because with Extended Mag, Subsistence will actually give you 2 bullets back instead of the normal 1. Now that should give you the confidence to not necessarily worry about the 34 reload speed. After all, when this role gets going, it's going to be ignition central, especially if you have Ember of Ashes as part of your solar build. And as you scorch targets and you make them weaker, they'll be easier to finish off with Subsistence, meaning that you are pretty much going to end up with a full mag no matter what you do, anywhere you go. Now if you're running in a fire team, you may want to consider Heal Clip, because it says reloading shortly after dealing a final blow grants cure to you and your nearby allies. Now for you, that means you get cure x2, which means you'll get a significant amount of your health back immediately. Helps you keep you in the fight, can save your life in really sticky situations. But most importantly, it gives you cure x1 to your allies. And that's important. It's important because of the solar fragment Ember of Benevolence, which states applying Restoration, Cure, or Radiant to allies grants increased grenade, melee, and class ability regen for a short duration. So when you reload near a fireteam member, your abilities with Ember of Benevolence will recharge 400% faster. And when you slap on Ember of Ashes to boost Incandescent's effect, and with the Origin trait Indomitability giving you 5% grenade ability energy recharge every time you kill, this roll that we're looking at right now is a build crafter's dream. Which then begs the next question. How does it stack up against its own competition in PvE? The main two contenders that Luna's Howl has to worry about is Epochal integration and Zowli's Bane. And I'm going to bet hard for Epochal integration here, okay? I did my entire solo flawless Warlords Ruin with Epochal. Stats for all Incandescent with the Nanotech Tracer Rockets are legitimately excellent. The Tracer Rockets as well are more than just a little bit useful. And quite honestly, I think it's one of the best hand cannons not named Sunshot for its entire package and feel. Although I have to confess, the main reason I ran Epochal integration is because at the time, I didn't have Zowli's Bane. I recently got one through Pantheon and my goodness, this thing works way better than it has any right to. Now, it handles like a truck and it looks and feels disgusting, but explosive payload grants an extra 15% body shot damage and makes both Incandescent and One for All feel even more stupidly lethal than they already are. Plus, it's fully craftable. Really, the only thing going against this weapon is that it's from a raid, and that's something that less than 20% of all Destiny players have ever done in their lifetime. And I get it, finding the time is hard. Making friends is even harder. Luckily for you, we have a Discord server where we're just about to start doing raid nights, so click the link down below and get yourself signed up for one of those if you want to get a raid done. We're all rank 5 and above, we know what to do. In all seriousness though, going back to the subject at hand, when you compare Luna's Howl against Epochal and Zowli's, it does feel a little bit like a day late and a dollar short, because there's objectively only one thing it can do better than either of these two, and that's the Ember of Benevolence synergy with Heal Clip. It's much better for build crafting, but for everything else, Epochal's Nanotech Tracer Rockets and Stats for All make the gun feel way better than Luna's ever could in PvE, and Zowli's is just more powerful. End of story. Overall, it's a comfortable third best. Maybe even tied second if you want to give extra brownie points for its build crafting friendly nature, but in saying that, that's not a bad thing at all. If I had to recommend a shiny to chase, it would be Fluted Barrel, Extended Mag, Subsistence and Heal Clip, with Incandescent and Desperate Measures for those times that you may want to try something with solar grenades. Now, the main question. Is this good in PvP? Without a doubt, yes. Now, even before getting into the perks and the performance of this weapon, there are some advantages precision frames have that are unique and distinct over other handguns that you should be aware of. For one, they have a much tighter recoil pattern, making it much easier to see your opponents. They also have much higher accuracy out of the box, meaning there's less bloom when you shoot your shots quickly or get flinched. And they also have an extra 25 airborne effectiveness baked in. In the case of Luna's Howl specifically, when you put on an Icarus Grip mod, you're at the primary cap of 60 without doing anything special. That means it'll be as sticky in the air as it is on the ground. Now, on the surface, it seems that with Magnificent Howl, this gun is tailor-made for stomping in 6v6s, but it can also do a serious number in 3s. Just not with the role that you're thinking of right now. In 6s, the role is Slide Shot and Mag Howl. Now, you all know everything you need to know about Mag Howl by this point, I assume. You've definitely tested it out for yourself. You know how crazy it can be, so I won't go into it. Slide Shot is the correct role here because when you slide, it will refill a portion of your magazine without proccing Magnificent Howl. Mag Howl needs a full physical reload to activate. Slide Shot is a very easy and deterministic way to control how much ammo you have in your mag. I've heard suggestions that you can equip a holster mod and then swap off Luna so that it refills the magazine that way. And yeah, that's a solution for sure, but then you're stuck with your second weapon, which you'll have to adjust to and change the way you play Crucible just so that you can get ammo back into the mag. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me why you would do that and compromise your game in the process when you can have Slide Shot and just control the ammo in your mag deterministically. Now, Slide Shot also, when you slide, remember, gives you 20 range and 30 stability, which is nothing to sniff at. However, an alternative you may want to consider is Eye of the Storm, which gives you an extra 30 handling after you get shot. The extra bonuses to accuracy cone sizes and reduced bloom with Eye of the Storm, they're less acutely felt on a precision frame because it's already tuned to be really, really precise anyhow. But the extra handling on an archetype, which traditionally doesn't have a lot of handling, that's nothing to sniff at. Or if you're feeling a little bit different, you could go with Encore, where Final Blows grant a stacking ability to range and accuracy, and Precision Final Blows give you more stacks. On a weapon kill for 7 seconds, you'll get boosts to range and stability. After one headshot, you'll get 10 extra range and 16 extra stability, which does make a noticeable and appreciable difference. However, with Mag Howl already there, that now leaves your gun with 2 kill-dependent perks on it, which means that by having no neutral perk already on your roll that is ready to go, you're leaving performance off the table. This is a confident player's role, not necessarily a role for everybody. Now, in 3v3, much has been said about Mag Howl not being as useful, and I tend to agree. There's not as many opportunities to build up Mag Howl shots, and even fewer opportunities to make the best of them. So what's the alternative? Many people have said that the best role for threes is Slide Shot or Eye of the Storm with Precision Instrument. Now, whilst I can't fault either Slide Shot or Eye of the Storm in the third column for threes, I'm going to throw a lot of cold water right now over Precision Instrument and why you should not get it. You see, Precision Instrument is a perk that gives a stacking bonus up to 25% extra crit damage based on how many crit shots you actually hit in the heat of the moment. In theory, a higher damage output should extend the damage range of the weapon, essentially boosting the effective 3-tap range and also giving you a nice safety net for those times when you're outnumbered. In practice, it's a much different story. According to the Boffins over at Crucible Guidebook, a fantastic resource for all things Crucible, Precision Instrument's damage increase with a Luna's Howl with 71 range translates to 1 whole meter of added range for 3 taps. It's possible that the effective range could be greater with even more stacks of Precision Instrument, but in my everyday experience with the perk, I really didn't find it was all that different from simply using the gun normally. Some also say that it can 2-crit one body with a couple of stacks of Precision Instrument, but again, the numbers don't add up. That only does 209.92 hit points of damage, which isn't enough to kill anyone at any resilience now. The only scenario where I can think of where the damage stacking is legitimately useful is against enemies and rifts. So then, if Precision Instrument isn't all that it's cracked up to be, then what's the alternative here? Well, I'm going to advocate for Opening Shot. Opening Shot will almost guarantee that first shot you fire will land on target as long as you're within the same postcode of the target's head, with an added 25 range and 20 aim assist, and paired with Slide Shot's 20 range and 30 stability, you're setting yourself up really nicely to have a strong opening salvo in any duel that you enter. And as every higher tier player will always tell you, whoever lands that first shot generally has the best chance of coming out on top. Question 6. What about its PvP rivals? Well, it doesn't really strictly have any, not on a like-for-like comparison anyways. Looking at the comparison chart really quickly here between Exalted Truth, Epochal, Zauli's, Waking Vigil, Nation of Beasts, and behind my face is Cantata, you can see that Luna's Howl compares really favorably to everything except for Exalted Truth. But then when you go in and you look at Exalted Truth's perk pool, I don't know, there's something incredibly 2022, 2023 about this entire thing. There's not a single combination of perks here that one would ever describe as top tier for a hand cannon in 2024. Rangefinder and Eye of the Storm may have been the call back in the day, but Rangefinder isn't what it used to be. Now, Epochal does have Keep Away and Eye of the Storm, which is very, very good, but truth be told, Luna's is still more consistent than this. And Zauli's does have Explosive Payload and Eye of the Storm, or even Opening Shot Eye of the Storm, but then you're using Zauli's Bane in PvP, which is a choice. I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say that Luna's Howl is the best 140 energy on offer right now, with the precision frame benefits and the perk package on offer. However, PvP comparisons are a little bit funny. There's two main considerations that we have to take into account. The sandbox itself, and how good the weapon is compared to the very, very best weapon, the most widely accepted best in slot candidate. So unfortunately, the question that makes the most sense for me to ask here is this worth using over Igneous Hammer? And I know, it's a 120 versus 140, it's not a fair comparison at all. And if we were to answer the question honestly, the answer would be no, because Igneous has a better damage model and playstyle for 3s, and has way better range and rolls that favour 3v3 game modes. It also rolls with Alacrity, which is a godsend for solo players. But on PC, with the way players play and how the meta shakes out, I don't see any future where Luna's Howl is the dominant weapon over Igneous Hammer after a short while. In the near future, in Final Shape and beyond, unless something comes out that is like Igneous Hammer, or even better than Igneous Hammer, that goes in the same slot, Igneous will stay on top. But on console, it's going to be a hard time seeing anything but Luna's Howl, because the way it feels is so much better and superior to every other hand cannon currently available. Ultimately, it will come down to preference. For me personally, if I'm in the mood to do some stomping and to play aggressively, I'm going to use a 140. But if I want to get a result, and I want to win, and I want to go flawless, I'm going to reach for the Igneous Hammer first. It's mad to even compare the two. And I don't know if that's because of three things. One, either I'm insane and I'm talking out of my ass. Two, that's just the meta and the world that we live in right now. Or three, Luna's Howl really is actually just that good. Alright, is there a catch with Luna's Howl? Unfortunately there is. The originals exist, and they're unsunset. Both of the OG Luna's Howls and Not Forgotten roll with Zen Moment, which is currently S tier for dueling and general Crucible play. It's the ultimate consistency perk on the ultimate consistency weapon. That makes them better when it comes to dueling, and there's no two ways about it. But Brave Luna isn't too far behind with Slide Shot and perks that boost their stats. The OGs felt hefty and unwieldy at the best of times, especially Not Forgotten with its atrocious handling. Brave Luna promises the power of the originals, but with a much smoother aftertaste. So if you have the originals, give them a try. But if not, you're not missing out too much with the new kid on the block. So after all of that, is Luna's Howl worth the grind? Yes, I think it is. The ceiling of this gun is outrageous. To me, it's the pinnacle of what guns should look, feel, and sound like. And there's enough reasons to run it for build crafting too. Truly the best of both worlds. Only if you're on controller. If you're on M&K, I don't think it's worth it at all to grind. There are better, more superior options out there already. But if you're a PvP main, and you're willing to put up with the feel of this, consider it. Because it is, legitimately, the best energy 140 RPM we have for the Crucible right now. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Sorry about how late I was with this video, but I hope you found it useful nonetheless. My name is Ascendant Nomad, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.